undisclosed cornfield in the Midwest United States. This is the Rev Report.
Well, folks, I'm taking the mask off once again for your viewing pleasure. We are warm, as you can hear, feel, and see here. As spring is already on the way. I hope you can hear me and see me, and we're doing all right. Man, there's been so many things with Trump over there in New York City. They're really hammering the Trump supporters, folks. Man, this Trump supporter over there, and Alex Jones was he was in the crowd of all these Democratic people, these anti-Trump people, and they basically like pushed him and took his hat off and beat him up pretty good. So that's pretty good. We're going to talk about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Russians, folks. We're going to talk the Russians, the Obama, and the administration that is going on today in America. If you didn't hear, the Russians were buzzing a naval ship in the Baltic Sea this week. They buzzed them 20 different times. And when they buzzed them, they kept getting closer and closer. And then they took a helicopter and took a helicopter and rode around it. This was after Obama first Obama went to, I believe he went to the Saudi Arabians, met with them. Then he went after the Saudi Arabians, he went with the Queen. So obviously the Saudis, which basically funded 9/11 and the 9/11 report, the 25 pages that he was supposed to release is now not going to come out, which he said in his speech, his opening speech when he won the election, that he would bring out the 9/11 report and let everybody see it. He basically, with this what's the name of this thing? This Glass-Steagall. The Russians know all about Glass-Steagall, and they know that what's going on here is that the crown is basically, folks, taken over America. They have finally worked their magic into the United States. You have the Bush one, which is definitely Bush was a CIA head member of the CIA, head member of the Skull and Bones, and so as we worked our way up to Obama, when Obama got basically crowned by the King of England to get in there, the Russians know all about it. The Russians were the first ones to let out the Freedom of Information Act on UFOs and on the different UFOs that they have encountered. Openly talked about it. Putin has openly said, yeah, we know about our UFOs. And so Obama is now pushing this agenda for this new war because Russia basically gained victory on Syria, and now they're pretty mad that that they gained all this power, or this looking good. Hey, Russia looked good. They went in there and took out ISIS. And there's more and more with now the Panama Papers saying the Panama Papers basically show that when the Silk Road closed, they opened up a road for the secret organizations of the Dragon family and that type of family to basically fund themselves logistically without having to be paying taxes or anything. And they were funding themselves to all these offshore accounts like Guatemala and Brazil and all these. They're basically the Panama Papers were tracking all these big time politicians in the United States and in the United Kingdom for what's really going on. And what's really going on is our money is being funded. All these is funding ISIS and funding Al Qaeda. It basically opens doors that shows that it has been funding terrorism, folks. Terrorism has been funding by their black ops organization that's funding in the heroin in this industry. The heroin industry in the United States has quadrupled ever since we came into Afghanistan. But then you have the DEA saying that we'll talk about taking marijuana off the Schedule 1, but what are we going to get out of it? And then you have Trump, and Trump's saying, hey, I'll legalize drugs because obviously the war on drugs is not working and will help people that are on drugs get off drugs, So we really need to, Trump does have a lot of, Trump is what you talk about in the Bible, the trumpets. I believe that is going on in the last 24 hours, folks. There's been 3 major earthquakes above in the 7.1 range, between 6.8 and 7.1. There's been 2 in Japan area and 1 in the South Asia, in the Southern Asia area near China. And as well, there was one about, I think, 8-9 days ago in Australia that was a 6 point or above. Yes, a 6 point to 7 point are very common in the whole entire world. A 7.1, it should happen, from what my guy said that I know, should happen at least once a month. But having three 7.0s, that's a pretty big a problem. What happened was we had a solar flare, a pretty big flare actually. It was probably the size of I would say half the United States that came out of the sun. And that always, when you have a flare like that come out of the sun, you have an earthquake. So that basically coincided to the earthquakes that we had. It did cause some minor damage, but they were both very deep in the crust. So that means things are moving, folks. Things are moving. We're going to talk about the dragon family. I don't know if he put Japan quakes and solar flares. Oh, we're just and the solar flares too. I'll talk a little bit more about solar flares. When you get solar flares, they put out a magnetic field like it's a bubble, and it basically comes and it hits a part of the Earth's magnetic field, and basically makes a vortex like a big screw, and then it goes right through the whole planet to the core, and then it bounces off the core. And when it does that, it releases kinetic energy into the crust of the Earth, and that's how the crust of the Earth will basically want to relieve itself by having an earthquake. Now they have earthquake machines that do the same thing. They actually use a vortex type thing. When Obama went to go get his combination from the UN that he's such a great man, a vortex was there. So basically, the powers that be, or the aliens that don't like him, wanted to put this vortex, and they were trying to stop having his whatever. So these vortexes basically are energy that is being coincided into the middle of our planet, possibly hollow Earth or possibly an area of our planet, and then it bounces around inside of our magnetic field, and then eventually wherever the crust is weak or has high tension, it reacts with the tension and goes off. That's how most of the earthquakes. Really, the bigger ones will go off. Yes, there's a lot of pressure, but when you get that extra lit off, that little punch from Mother Nature, it goes off. Now you do have what the Anunnaki said, that the Anunnaki has been protecting us from the solar flares that are more bigger, that would actually take out our power grid. They've been willingly protecting us for the last like 2,000 or 3,000 years. Since they had the Great War on this planet, where they got Marduk. Marduk came into play, and Marduk said he's been protecting this planet, as well as Valthor says he's protecting this planet. So you have these 3 different lords that have been protecting our planet from major solar anomalies. And I'm going to start talking about the dragon family. So let's put up the dragon family. What the dragon family is they own quadrillion trillion tons of our gold. They are a family organization that's worldwide. It's above the New World Order. It's kind of like a group, a society of group that is highly advanced. They've been doing this gold stuff probably before, a little after the dinosaurs were here. The dragon family has DNA that goes all the way back to probably like the first real highly intelligent people that were on this planet. These people, which they're called the Lyarans, they came across the galaxy and got 125,000 of them got put in China, and they got put in America, and they kind of got put all in the northern hemisphere, and then they became the dragon family. It's this DNA dynasty that basically has kept all their knowledge over the many centuries that they have been on this planet. They were here prior to supposedly, they were here prior to Adam and Eve, obviously. Some of these groups. There was a highly advanced group that was on this planet that basically was with another highly advanced group, which is the group you would call the people from like the Lucifer's helpers. And then you had the Dragon family. And the Dragon family was this dynasty that was out in our galaxy that was probably on Mars and other planets. And then their DNA basically got finally put to Earth, and it became now called the Dragon dynasty. And they're highly, highly, highly advanced. They have their fingers in all the gold markets. They have their fingers in all the banks throughout the world. They basically run the gold market everywhere, Africa, Brazil, everything. So you get an ounce of, actually I got $100 or so. It was $100 of gold. It was like that big. And what happened, basically, say, like 0.25 or 1.25 of that gold is really the Dragon family. They secretly own part of that. Even though you think you own all that gold, they still, that little flake, they still own like 2 point or 1.5 of that in their way. They have basically taken the gold out of Fort Knox and put it in their dynasty. They don't not like show off themselves very well. Like they don't build big buildings, or they basically they're now buying a lot of American and United Kingdom companies from manufacturing companies that build different manufacturing, green energy companies. They're buying wind energy trains, that kind of stuff. They're anything that's being infrastructure. They're behind a lot of the infrastructure that we have designed in China and have designed throughout the world. The roads, the buildings, the pipelines, that kind of stuff. They are involved in our oil markets, but now lately they've actually branched out of the oil markets and now are getting into this 0 point and easier energy, so that they can do the next step in evolution on this planet is a 0 point energy that they can tax the dick out of, basically, is what they're going to do. The Dragon family is the ones that are going to basically transfer us over to this RCH money thing. They're actually the Federal Reserve will be basically another division of the Dragon family. And then once this new world order that they are now inflecting into the planet will be a one world currency that will be throughout the world. And this is like in other planets. There is other planets in the galaxy. There is one currency. There isn't a currency. It's a number thing. It's a card. It's basically a card with a bar tag or a code on your arm or somewhere on your arms, or wherever. Mark of the beast, basically, and a card, and then your paycheck automatically goes to the card, and there's no money anymore. Basically, there's no paper. There's no waste of printing it out or anymore. Everybody has credits and that kind of thing, or gold. They're gonna back it with gold and silver, but we're gonna have this economy crashing that they're trying to do. But there's another organization called the Labyrinth Group that's trying to keep the planet going with different other highly advanced technology into computers. You notice if you've ever been going to like Micro Center or somewhere else like that, these computers are getting like faster and faster by like every 6-7 months. They're faster, quadruple. We got these solid state hard drives and all this kind of stuff. The Labyrinth Group is working kind of with the Dragon family. They're the ones that are like doing the technology, but the Dragon family is funding. They said that they're going to start funding some big organizations openly here very soon. There's a meeting going to come up here on next Saturday around the Cleveland Hopkins Airport with Michael Leahill, and he's going to be talking about the Dragon family and the Anunnaki connection. The Anunnaki are connected with the Dragon family as well. The Anunnaki are light beings. Marduk is their leader. Marduk is still quite influential on this planet, and he's kind of basically he talks to Lucifer. Lucifer is a very well-known person, but he doesn't really do a lot of work with Lucifer because him and Lucifer just don't get along. Marduk is a caring person on this planet and cares for our well-being, but the guy that we call Lucifer, he basically wants us to live off oil and nuclear energy the rest of our lives and all die at a nuclear holocaust. That's what Obama and his goons are trying to put onto the planet. And the Dragon family really don't care for if they don't want a nuclear holocaust. They want a change, but they're still working on the way they're going to change. They're kind of shady on how they're going to change everything. But what happened with the Dragon family this week, or it was like this: North Korea basically asked China, we really need some supplies, ammunition, food, that kind of deal. And they sent this nice train down to North Korea, and North Korea said, we ain't giving the train back. And so basically the Dragon family, the secret family, actually called Jing Chang Ching or whatever his name, as DPKRU. And what happened was they tested this missile, and this missile conveniently didn't work because basically the Dragon family secret Cobra group called Cobra, they basically went in and took out this rocket that would be able to deliver a nuclear weapon to China and set them back about a year with this rocket because they went in there and they basically said, well, if you ain't giving back our train, we're gonna start going in there and start killing off your guys. And they said that they were going to send their military train in here in the next 24 hours, and we're getting our train, or we're getting our train or hell or high water. I have a more of a report, but the person that has that report is not in the house right now, so she is out on assignment right now. So, but the DPRK is they've been testing nuclear weapons. They got rich uranium hard water. They have a nuclear weapon, but they don't have a guidance system that is good enough to actually target the right place they'll target. So if they did send a nuclear weapon, it may not get to the exact location where they would like it to. So that's the problem with the DBR. And the guy that runs North Korea has killed most of his family off. So the Dragon family is definitely not a supporter of the North Korea, because there is a lot of like ancient history and mineral rights, and I believe a Stargate power source probably in North Korea, South Korea that they're interested in. There is a Stargate in, I believe there's 3 places in the Northern Hemisphere, 2 places in the Southern Hemisphere, that the gate system actually pretty much works, where they can actually get around on the planet. That's what the pyramids were, basically a power system for these gate systems that were underneath a lot of these pyramids. But when they went and they explored these pyramids, they removed the gate system and they put it into secret locations where, like Cheyenne Mountain or whatever, they put them in there. And they do use the gate system, the Dragon family, to get to different solar systems and stuff like that, to talk to different other Dragon family races throughout the galaxy. I mean, they are galaxy-ized. So they definitely have their claws into Black NASA and have other ways of generating more funding. I mean, if you they have $250 trillion in gold. They're just not getting it off we're not getting all their gold off of Earth. They're getting it from somewhere else. They're getting it from the cosmos as well, I believe. How far are they in the cosmos? I wouldn't tell you. I believe they're just using a Stargate system to probably get gold. While we were originally planted on this planet, the Laarans, the Demetrios, and the actual other races, there was I believe 6 different races that were put on this planet. Black NASA knows the history of why we were put on this planet. There's been so many different races of humans that have basically come through this planet and been stranded here because it's a prison planet. And what a prison planet is there's only a few of them in the actual galaxy. Like, you could say our God or whatever his God, and God had a guy named Lucifer, and Lucifer was banished to the planet this planet. And basically, Black NASA said, well, Illuminati said, well, we'll deal with the Greys, and we won't deal with the Anunnaki. Who the Anunnaki has more technology, but the Anunnaki told Eisenhower and Theodore Roosevelt and Bush one, hey, you got to quit using this nuclear power. The only country in the world that doesn't use nuclear power anymore is China. They shut down, or not China, excuse me. China is working their way out of actually nuclear reactors. That was actually posted the other day that they are going to start getting out of some of their nuclear power plants to make a different type of new energy plant. They are going to use a nuclear device, but it's going to be more basically efficient. It's going to be a smaller ways of plant fission than a big block where they put some things in it. It's going to be a more smaller compact devices that they can control. Basically, it's a one rod system that goes in the top and two rods that go in the bottom, and it fuses a core. And basically, they run a very super stream of water that basically gets super hot real quick, and then they can actually generate a stream of energy off this thing. Apparently, they have that technology. The Black Dragon family is actually, but they're going to say it's nuclear power, but it's going to be an actual potential energy, higher energy velocity that they can make more money off of, and it's easier to maintain. So if it's easier to maintain, then they make more money. What they're going to do is they're going to basically label these new technologies as a nuclear device or a fusion-ish device, but it's going to be 0-point energy. But they're going to find a way. Black NASA has found a way that they can tax it so that they can make more money off of this. Money to them, they just want the power. So if they can get all this power, then they can actually leak out more information of what these UFOs and so. But in the last, on the UFO ticker, it's called the UFO ticker. China's had an uptick of about 30% more UFOs than normal, and Canada has been up 63% in the last 3 months. There has been at least 23 different UFO sightings, different kinds of UFO sightings in the last 2 months over the water of Lake Erie than any time of the entire flap of UFOs. There's actually been quite a few UFOs around the Cleveland area as well on the other side of the lake. And above the lake, there's been quite a bit of action above the lake. So obviously they know that with all these earthquakes, that means some people say it's the end of times with more powerful earthquakes and powerful other things going on. I think there's definitely a secret battle going on between Black NASA, which is basically a organization that's run by the super elite that basically has space travel, Stargate travel to go to different worlds when needed. But the Canadians are like, what the heck? There's these ones that are like basically like rods, but they're like looping and they're like gyroscopes are going all crazy. They had one with a gyroscope going, and then they had a triangle, which is like basically a drone chasing it away. Now I've seen that actually in our area, but it's basically these triangle ones. The triangle ships are basically the division of the Aurora time, and the triangle ones are the ones basically chasing these other orbs, gyroscopes, different energy, the ones that are balls of light off the area so that they'll lead, because these are non-ferrous. They're living energy, and they're not like a being. They're actually a living type of energy that lives in our galaxy. And they don't like us talking to them or communicating with them. They're more of a type like a light being. These light beings are the ones that probably enhanced the guy that was named Jesus Christ. Jesus, he was supposedly was walking after he rose in a big gigantic light, and he had these beings, or he had these people that were all in white. They were called angelic beings. So these angelic beings were probably Lyrian gods, or these gods that were from, like, actually there's actually a picture. One of these UFO reporters in Canada actually got a picture from one of these contacts, these people that got abducted, of a picture of heaven. There's actually a real place in the cosmos of heaven, Actually, I'm in a group with Peggy, and she's actually got the picture of this, body basically place in the cosmos of a place that pretty much, if you read different scriptures and everything, of what heaven looks like. Now, what heaven uses are basically UFO gods. They use these cubes to fly around. These cubes are huge, massive cubes, and I guess they're ways and way of dimensional travel is an easy way of traveling in a cube, but the cube actually will go form into a basic like circle to move. But when it stops, it actually goes into a cube form. And the cube would actually go on top of these pyramids and charge and recharge and actually take beings and people off the planet. All these pyramids were for these cubes that would stay up above the pyramids and have people come in and off of the planets. And these cubes will show up at the end of times. I believe that these cubes will show back up because there is references in Revelations, references in the Da Vinci Code. There's revelations in Book of Enoch that the cubes will come back and they all have these Bible verses and everything else on them. And I believe that probably would have a way of that's how we would ascend. It would take so many people and ascend with us, ascend with these cubes to another planet, possibly to possibly another planet, or to heaven, or to wherever these ascended Jesus, this person that we call Jesus. It's going to be a person that's similar to Jesus, which Jesus was not a created being. It was downloaded information to a man that was supposedly a son of God. And well, God has a DNA strand too. That's a God. It's called the God gene. It's throughout the cosmos. There is a God gene in a few people on this planet that are still, they call the Watchers, are watching this planet, and we're being watched. So they actually did say, the Watchers did say, that if we ever try to nuke this planet or try to do nuclear war, they will come in and stop it. They don't care if we're going to kill each other, we're going to kill each other, but they don't want a nuclear bomb goes off, or multiple, that blows up multiple universes, and they don't care for that much at all. They've been told that, hey, they're gonna stop this. That's why if you really talk about Trump is the trumpets that they talk about in the Bible. So I believe Donald Trump is it's convenient that now he is the man that he's telling everybody what's really going on, and all these dirty politicians, all these dirty people that are going on. Even this guy that I talked to, his name is Lyndon LaRouche, and he calls for action for the FDR's first 100 days. Wall Street must be wiped off with Glass-Steagall, and the empty skyscrapers reappointed to develop the state-of-the-art healthcare system and hospitals, teaching schools, and scientific facilities. Basically, this Lyndon LaRouche guy, he'll talk about he's been in our government, or working for our government for I think since FDR, or just after. He is 90 some years old, and LaRouche has talked about how the Democratic Party is actually really funded by the Queen of England, and they've been heavily funded by the Queen, and heavily funded, which you would call the Rose, or the and New World Order, or Illuminati. They're basically the Queen of England. If you look how the Queen is basically got Obama in there. But this LaRouche guy, basically, when they were doing the 9/11 report, he was telling people, hey man, this the 25, or was it, there's 125 pages that hey man, these pages are telling how they blew up that there's evidence of thermite, there's evidence of different aspects of these buildings were blown up intentionally, and it's in that report that they basically points basically to the Saudi Arabians, the man that had the only information that actually had the technology was a man in Jerusalem, a Jewish guy. They had the thermite basically plans. He was actually a big guy that worked for Halliburton, and he worked for a bunch of different companies that were demolition. And he was this guy that they basically hired these other crew from Jerusalem to go over to the 9/11 buildings and paint as thermite. There was evidence in these papers of a group that basically took out those buildings, and LaRouche basically came out against the FBI, saying, "Hey, man." He doesn't like the FBI at all. He says the FBI is no good for this country. They're not doing anything proper for for our country. He's really said that the FBI has befuddled a lot of crucial things, especially with our president. Now they're being their hands tied against Hillary for prison, where she's with the Benghazi attacks, with the Travelgate. LaRouche has been talking about, Clinton. Lyndon LaRouche has a great website. He actually has a show on YouTube stream. You can actually check him out, Lyndon LaRouche. I'm going to get a little bit more into him. I just started learning about LaRouche, and he's really an intelligent man. I mean, he really knows his classical music, and he knows his politics, guys. People of the Chunk TV, you should definitely check him out. And the drunk news of the day. Yes, folks, it's that time again to tell you about a drunk person. The other night, I think it was 1 night ago, a man was at TNA and drank a series of 12 beers, and this is written in the paper, and he drank a couple shots, and he got in his car. He first hit, I believe, a pole or some kind of a one pole, like a light pole a little bit. He nicked on the light pole, and then he kept driving to Northwood Middle School. And I guess he lived near there, but he thought he was at his house, and he drove right through the Northwood Middle School sign, which is a hefty brick wood sign, drove himself right through the sign and ended up pretty much on the sign. He got out and was basically dazed and confused. By the time the cops got there, he was laying in the parking lot and was pretty much dazed and confused. And they asked him what happened, and he didn't even know his name or anything. He said that he was drunk. Basically, they could, when the video, you just see him just mumbling. He was so drunk. And then that is on the drunk tank this week. I think it was another story, but I can't remember it. And let's see. And Bernie Sanders was over at the Vatican having a cocktail with him as well today. I think they were having some orange juice as well. And that is it on the Rev Report today. It's a little shorter than normal, but that's all I got. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week.